Hey folks, welcome back to Max Nafe Horsemanship again today. And I'm not going to show you much today, but I'm going to talk about some stuff that, get your nose out of my camera, please. I'm going to talk about some stuff if I can keep a horse away from my camera. But if you see this little brown one in here, it's because, well, in a recent video you saw her and how she got a little bit reactive with the saddle. I don't want to talk about that. Actually, a number of things that kind of all related. And I'm glad she did that. Not that I'm happy that she did it, but I'm glad that I got to show you. Because it's important for you to see that things don't always go smooth. You know, there's always little hiccups here and there. And every single one is different. And I get surprised every once in a while by these two because I didn't think she'd have a problem with the saddle. Because just by her nature, she's a rather calm horse. And well, I wasn't expecting it. But this is why I've said many times, every horse is different. They all have unique personalities. And, you know, they're good and bad at different things. Every one of them. There's no two horses alike in this world. And I want to talk about that because it's got to do with the horses that you have. Well, or are going to have, or whatever. Maybe you don't even have one yet. I don't know what you're up to out there, but you're paying attention. I'm glad. So you might have a horse that far better than these ones. And occasionally it happens where horses are just, well, as one lady said, she had one that was born broke. Her husband actually rode the thing bareback, and it had never ever been trained at all. Well, some horses are like that. And you may have a horse that will just fly through things, and within a month you're going to be riding it. But that's an exception. And you may have the opposite extreme. You might end up spending a year, maybe two, before you ride the horse. But don't let that get you down. Don't let that make you think that you're doing something wrong or there's something wrong with the horse. Because that's not always the case. Sometimes it's just some things take a little longer. There's no rule book that says things take a certain length of time. A lot of people got this idea in their head, and I've seen this play out in many cases. There was one horse I almost bought one time. Somebody else beat me to it. I was okay. I don't mind. It wasn't a big deal, but I saw the potential in this horse. I actually did go look at it. By the time I got back there with a trailer and some money, well, it's too late. Somebody else had already beat me to it. But it was a horse that somebody had. They'd sent it off to a trainer, and within 3 weeks, it still hadn't been ridden yet. And to them, that was unacceptable. They should have had a rider on it by then. Maybe not fully trained, but it should have been ridden in 3 weeks. No, I don't think so at all. That's craziness in my mind, but that was their standard. And because of that, they decided, no, they pulled the horse out of the training and put it up for sale. Now, like I said, I went and saw that horse, and I saw its potential, and I said, no, this is a good horse here. Nothing wrong with her. There was nothing, absolutely nothing physically wrong with her. She was very sensitive and pretty smart and willing, and she did anything I asked her to do on the ground. Sure, she hadn't been ridden yet, so what? You know, I saw the potential, but like I said, they didn't, because they had this idea in their head that in a certain length of time, the horse should be ridden. And I don't want any of you to ever get this idea, because they're all different. And like, well, this one here, I'm going to be spending a little extra time with her because of issues she got, which, well, I mean, the other one, I think she's like that far away from being ridden. This one, no, it's going to be a while yet. We're going to work on some stuff, but that's okay. And this brings me to another thing I want to talk about. I have talked about this before. And, oh, by the way, stick with me to the end of this video, because at the end of this video, I'm going to talk about something else that's going to be upcoming in another video, and very important, and it might just save your horse's life. So I'll explain that when I get to it. But anyhow, I'm going to take a little extra time with this one. Is there anything wrong with her? Do I think she's inadequate or going to be less of a horse? Absolutely not. There's just certain issues that we're going to have to go a little slower with. But here's the other part, and I have mentioned this before, the difference between symptoms and problems. Now, the symptom is she reacts to the saddle. That's a symptom. That's not the problem. Now, perhaps if we went slow enough with the saddle, in time, she'd get used to it, things would be fine. But I don't think that's actually the problem. The problem is her sensitivity that is causing her to react to the saddle. So I think what we're going to have to do with that one is we're going to have to actually back up and do some more desensitizing with her. Now today it's a little too windy to be working with, say, the tarp, but I got the flag and the stick and string and stuff out here, so I'm going to work with those things and see how she reacts to that stuff. Nice girl. And, you know, work from there. Work on problems, not symptoms, because there's a difference there. And that's important to understand that stuff. There is a difference, and that's one of the things we're going to work on with this one. Is we're not going to work on the symptom, we're going to work on the problem, because, like I said, I don't believe the saddle itself is the problem. The reason she's reacting to the saddle, well, we got to figure that one out, because that's where the real problem is. The saddle's just a symptom. And, well, and that gets confusing sometimes, but you got to look at the big picture and figure out, what is the horse actually reacting to? Is it the saddle, or is it just things in general? Well, I think it's just things in general, and perhaps we need to do a little more desensitizing. And I actually have been a little bit lax in that department. It's been a while since I've done any with these horses, and I've always said you got to keep doing things over and over many times. Here's a perfect example. I haven't done it enough, and even though I thought she was okay with a lot of things, apparently she's not, because the saddle gets her upset. The other horse, well, different personality. She don't care about the saddle. But that brings up my next video. And I'm going to talk a little bit about something that just happened today that is directly related to my next video that I want to do. And, well, you'll notice I got some gloves in my pocket. And normally I work barehanded with the horses. But I was working with barbed wire. I was dealing with some fence that was down. And I had to go catch some horses that got out. And fortunately, we've trained them all well to be caught and led. So we didn't have any problem getting them back in, and we have some other areas that we can contain them into until I get the fence fixed out on the main pasture where they got out. But they didn't like that wire. I actually ended up having to cut it and roll back a section of fence out of the way so I could lead them back through. But that leads me up to the next video that I want to do, where I want to talk about something that you can do that might actually save your horse's life, because today was a perfect example. The fence was down, there was wire laying on the ground. That particular piece had some extra wire on it too, and lots of stuff that they could get tangled in. And coming back in, they didn't even actually want to go near it. I had to actually cut the wire and move it out of the way before I could lead them in, which I actually preferred to do anyhow, because until I do the next step here, had they actually stepped in that wire, got tangled in it, and panicked, could have been a very serious situation. And I'm going to teach you what you can do, something that's relatively simple to do, that can actually save your horse's life in such a situation if there's wire laying on the ground. I'll explain it all in the next video, but you're going to want to watch that one. Don't miss that video. So anyhow, horses got out. I got fence to go fix. But I think before I do that, I'm going to work with this one a little bit, because, you know, like I said, got some problems going on that we need to deal with. So that's what we're going to do. And it's going to take a little bit longer with this one because of that. Oh, well, you do what you have to do. You know, there's no one size fits all. And like I said, you know, you might be riding your horse in a month, or you might be riding your horse in 2 years. You never know. And it's not to discredit you or the horse. You know, it's just sometimes that's just how it goes. So don't beat yourself up and get all frustrated if things are taking longer than you think it should, because the idea that it should take a certain length of time to do something, that's just a human idea. That's not the real world. That's not reality. And there's lots of trainers out there that will try and convince you that they only need 3 months to train a horse. Well, I don't think that's true. Some horses take a little longer. And if they do, that's okay. And it might cost you if you're paying somebody else to do it. But in the end, it might be money well spent, because it might take 2 years before you get on that horse. But at the end of 2 years, you might just have a fantastic horse, far exceeding any of the ones that people were riding after a couple of months. So don't beat yourself up. If things take time, that's just reality. Sometimes things take time. So just thought I'd share that with you, talk about that today. And I really hope you join me on the next one, because we're going to do some actual demo stuff, assuming we can stay in view of the camera. Might be a little tricky without somebody operating the camera for me. But I'm going to do my best. I think that's probably one of the reasons I've never done this before on camera. It's not that I've never done it, but I've never done it on camera before. So you're going to get to see it first if you watch my next video. And we're going to do the best that we can. And I have absolutely no idea how it's going to turn out or how the horses are going to react to it, because everyone's different. And judging from what I saw today, I think it might be interesting. Could have our hands full. And yeah, there's a good chance we might go off camera again too. I'm going to see if maybe for the next one I can get somebody out here to run the camera for me. I think that'd be helpful. Anyhow, hope that's helpful to you. Things don't go according to plan sometimes. That just happens. And a couple videos ago there, you got to see proof of that. Things don't always go real smooth sometimes. And by the way, that was not, I've seen far worse than that. That was a pretty mild reaction. Sometimes when you put a saddle on a horse for the first time, it can be a lot worse than that. I've seen worse. So if things don't go perfect, even with all the proper prep and groundwork that you've done in desensitizing and gentling and everything, there's always a chance that, things might get a little rodeo sometimes. And, well, you get the idea, okay? And if it takes a little longer, well, that's what you're going to have to do. Deal with it. In the meantime, hope that helps you out a little bit with your horse. Don't get frustrated when things take a while. Maybe that's just the way it's meant to be. And, horses don't work watches, you know that? They don't read calendars. They don't care how long it takes. It takes as long as it takes. And you need to keep that in mind too, okay? Whatever you've got set in your head when you go out to work with your horse, well, that's okay to have some ideas, but if the horse presents you with something a little bit different, that's what you're going to have to go with. Be flexible. All right. I'll see you on the next one. And in the meantime, have yourselves a great day and see you later. Bye now.